Welcome everybody, my name is Kamil Jaworski and I'm the head of growth for Provenance Compliance. At Provenance, we provide tailored compliance solutions for digital assets and traditional finance. KYC and KYB, as well as on-chain analytics managed services, CCSS, cryptocurrency security standard audits, AML and compliance officers, internal audit, as well as FATCA CRS services. Our clients are currently domiciled in several jurisdictions: Cayman, BVI, US, Ireland, South Africa, Switzerland, and soon we're gonna operate physically from Dubai. Today we have partnered with Fume, an on-chain fund administration system, and would like to introduce you to the world of stablecoins, its challenges and opportunities for the asset managers. Whether you work in asset management or maybe fund administration, compliance, or other areas of finance, tune in and listen to the two great experts I have brought to my studio today: Riccardo Conti from Fume and Leo from Provenance Compliance. Riccardo, would you like to start and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Rick and the co-founder of Fume, the on-chain fund administration protocol. Well, I started a few years ago by launching my own crypto fund, dealing with digital assets, accepting subscription in kind, and moving money with stablecoins. However, we felt that our administration was way more difficult than what it should be. So we created Fume to automate all the inflows, outflows of an investment fund, meaning that all the subscription, redemption, extracting the fees, calculating the NAV, paying the distribution, all of that we automated with smart contracts.
That's great. And Leo, would you like to tell a couple of words about yourself as well?
100%. Great, guys. Kamil, thanks for having me. Great to be with you as well, Rick. Like Kamil quickly mentioned, I work at Provenance. I'm a day 2 employee when Provenance started about 3.5 years ago. I head up the on-chain analytics department, where we work with a lot of the funds, fund administrators, DAOs, foundations, etc., in order to get best compliance when it comes to on-chain. Before that, I'm an ex-lawyer, so I do understand a little bit of the legal terms and those requirements as well. So that's been a nutshell, Kamil.
Cool. Let's jump right into it then. So fund managers see that investors want to subscribe via stablecoins. As we all know, stablecoins are the hot topic in crypto for the last couple of years. Just look at these numbers. ET market cap, 125 billion, 125 billion. SDC, 73 billion. That's 3 times the growth since 2022. So no wonder that there is a market. And funds, as the best so far and most popular conduit, are being asked to participate. So some of us ask themselves this question: I don't see many funds like that. I don't see many funds that would accept subscriptions in crypto. Is it possible today to subscribe with my stables? The answer is yes, for many fund structures. But what we're going to discuss today is what is the issue? What's the hurdle? So Riccardo, do you want to kick off and tell us why so few asset managers decide to go for it?
Yeah, sure. So the thing is, many fund administrators are either not able or not willing to deal with digital assets in general. They might lack the experience or the tool to perform the AML checks and understand the transaction, so tracing the origin. So their fund admin system might be integrated with the traditional banking rail or with traditional transfer agency services. So historically, they would simply discard the sector as being too, let's say, exotic. However, clear regulation are now in place all over the world. We have the Genius Act in the US, we have MiCAR in Europe, and other similar regulation around the world. So until recently, stablecoins were primarily used by crypto traders and investors. But now the landscape has changed rapidly, right? So we see high net worth individuals, we see asset manager in America, Middle East, Southeast Asia, that are using stablecoin simply as a much more efficient way to move money, an efficient way compared to traditional banking rates, right? So traditional asset managers, and I say again, traditional asset managers, now want to be able to accept, for example, USDC instead of the normal USD. Why? Because it's just a better way of moving money. It's not that they want to get into the crypto war. It's just for their clients, it's much easier to receive those kind of subscription. So administrator cannot ignore and discard this sector any longer, right? It's a very big opportunity for fund administrators and asset managers alike. But yeah, there are for sure some challenges, starting, for instance, with everything that is compliance. You want to accept subscription? Well, you need to perform the checks. And for this, you guys come in.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned AML and compliance, because this is why we have my colleague Leo here today. And he is actually one of the best crypto AML experts. So Provenance supports inter alia fund admins with the task of conducting AML and on-chain analytics. So Leo, from your perspective, what are the issues fund admins and managers are facing from the AML and compliance point of view? Can you tell us a bit about this?
Thanks, Kamil. And just for a tongue in the cheek, in this industry that's so fast growing and that's so new, I don't think there are any experts. But if someone tells you they're an expert, I think perhaps run away. So in this regard, nonetheless, thank you for the kind words. And I think you put a very good question out there. And I would say the first and the biggest challenge for a lot of the fund admins that we have worked with and the other fund admins, especially like Rick just mentioned on the traditional side of things, is whether they are going to go into the crypto fund space and whether that falls within their own risk appetite and whether they want to take on the risk with crypto funds. So we know that there are a lot of uncertainty and a lot of unknown behind the industry because it's so new and people don't really understand crypto. They don't really understand how it works. So as such, we have seen that overcoming that first obstacle for fund administrators and fund admins just to make the decision whether they are going to go into this space is the first hurdle. And then second, and one of the bigger obstacles and issues around finding comfort when it comes to source of funds, compliance, is the whole wallet ownership, source of funds verification. And that is like Rick said, that's where Provenance comes in. So we saw these obstacles in the early days and we saw these problems, but we saw this as an opportunity for us to also go further. So since then, we have built out a process that we can actually assist the fund administrators when they made the decision to accept crypto with their funds and then to do proper AML compliance, finding comfort for them to then further the conversation. So I would say those are some of the hurdles in this instance.
Okay, and can the investors deposit directly from their crypto exchanges?
Yes, Camille. So from their own crypto exchanges, they are more than willing to do so. But when it comes to crypto exchanges, that's actually a interesting aspect as well, because a crypto exchange in the end has something that we call a hot wallet principle. So when you open an account with the exchanges, they would provide you with a dedicated deposit address within their system. So that means if you provide anyone with that wallet address, they can send funds into that wallet, and that's also on the public blockchain and available for us to track and trace. But what makes it interesting about these exchanges is you don't really see the sending exposure from that wallet because of the hot wallet, where the funds are actually being sent out of their system, out of the exchange with a service hot wallet. So yes, they can prescribe through exchanges as well. And we also have a robust program. And when it comes to compliance to check these checks.
Okay, so how can you analyze the wallet in this case?
So I would like to take it a little step back, Camille, and I would like to share just a quick screen on why we think compliance is actually important at the end of the day. So I'm going to, if you don't mind, share a quick screen and just
Sure, go ahead.
explain a little bit why compliance is important, especially in this space. So when it comes to compliance, why would a company choose to do compliance? So we always see this in three different facets. One being a regulatory requirement. Like Rick mentioned earlier, there's a lot of regulatory requirements coming in, like MiCA and the Genius Act, all of that globally, and especially in the Cayman Islands, we know that there's robust regulations regarding especially source of funds. So in this space as well, the second thing, if you are required to do so or not, the second thing that comes into play is sanctions. Everyone in the world is bound by sanctions. So whether you're regulated or not, dealing with the sanctioned subject is prohibited, and that alone when breached, has the ability to taint your whole fund and then have regulatory scrutiny on the fund administrator as well. So that then brings me to my last point. Why I think and why we believe compliance is also important is the reputation factor over there. So again, regulated, not regulated, fund administrators, fund managers go a long way in a couple of years to build up their reputation within the industry, and allowing a sanctioned subject or regulatory scrutiny when you breach any of those regulatory requirements has a big impact on your reputation at the end of the day. So we have found that these three are the main reasons why any institution would do compliance, especially when it comes to AML, sanctions, source of funds, and all of that. So to have a holistic approach when it comes to compliance.
So how do you actually prove the source of funds then?
So when you prove source of funds, that actually is where a lot of the company tools or that we utilize and also the industry best practices on-chain analytical tools come into play, like your Chainalysis, TRM, Elliptic. So those tools allow you on a visual to see if there are any exposure to any high risk activities, to any sanctioned individuals or sanctioned companies, in order then to provide the holistic view and to holistic approach of your on-chain analytics, and then to provide your risk scoring at the end of the day. When we do the holistic screening process, we like to call it approach that we call the 360 approach, and that is to allow the fund administrator or the fund manager to have a holistic approach and a holistic view of the client or the investor's full risk rating. So in that essence, first off is the wallet screening. Like I mentioned, we'll do holistic wallet screening to identify the source of funds. Is there any exposure to high risk activities? We'll look at all of your transactions, your counterparties, to see if there are any bad things happening. So the second thing that comes into big play is your wallet identification test. So that is where we make sure that the wallet that you have provided as an investor actually belongs to you. Because we know in the blockchain space, there's no real ownership verification when it comes to, let's say, a bank. We have a rubber stamp to say bank account 1234 belongs to Kamil. So we have identified and written a process that actually allows us to understand that the person on the other side has control over the wallet. We'll also then provide a little bit of open source intelligence. We'll look at the investor, who they are they operating within the space? And then we'll provide KYC, KYB. So understanding holistically who Kamil, let's say Kamil, you are the investor, who Kamil Jaworski is, the proof of address, the proof of ID, where you are situated, your IP address, are you PEP? We'll do your source of funds tracing on the blockchain through our tools, and then we'll provide the wallet address identification test. So holistically, that gives us the approach to view and then provide the fund administrator with maximum comfort for them to allow this investor into the fund that they either administer or manage. So I hope that answers your question, Kamil.
Yeah, it does. So Rick, assuming all the AML compliance is now done, and once an investor receives the green light in this process to proceed with the subscription, how does it commonly happen? So what's next?
So let's say process of KYC AML is finished. The way they usually, so the next step usually is we need to communicate to the investor, to your LPs, where the deposit needs to happen, right? So here we have essentially two ways. It's either the fund administrator through their platform, through their way of communicating to the LP, they communicate where to deposit, so the deposit instructions, or it's directly the fund manager. Usually what we see is the fund manager sending an email, a message, or jumping on a video call with the investor, sharing the address, let's say a wallet where the investor will then proceed with the deposit, select the amount, select the network, the currency, and so on, to actually perform the deposit. Once the deposit happened, so the money is now out of the investor's wallet and into the fund custody solution, could be a multi-sig, could be a deposit directly through to the investment fund's crypto exchange, for example. Once this happened, there is now the notification from the fund manager to the fund administrator. Hey, fund administrator, we actually received the money from the investors, and this is the transaction ID. It could be a screenshot, it could be a link from an explorer directly, so that the fund administrator can see the transaction and update their own registry. It could be issuing the subscription note and performing the other transfer agent functions.
Okay, and what are the possible issues in this process?
Well, there are quite a few possible issues. What I've been describing right now is, let's say, the traditional way of performing a deposit. This is what we encountered when we started as fund manager. But of course, I believe there is a much better way of performing a deposit into a fund using stablecoins. And I'm going to show you this in a second. So let me share my screen here. Okay, so here's what I want to say is, I believe that anything that could go wrong with a manual input does eventually go wrong. What do I mean by that? So in the previous case, I shared that the investor has to receive the communication from the asset manager about how the address where to send it. Well, this is what would happen. So the investor, the LPs receive a QR code, an address, but then we perform the AML check with Leo at the beginning in order to get a green lighted. This is something that actually happens. So the investor says, yes, I want to deposit from this address, please do the check. After you perform the check, the investor says, actually, I'm going to send from a different wallet. I actually have another wallet where I have the liquidity prepared, or actually have Bitcoin, but I decided that I want to deposit in another stable coin. So let me quickly put it on an exchange and then deposit from the exchange. I thought it was fine, guys, because you'd performed the check on my wallet. It's the same funds. I just moved it to a different wallet and then deposited from there. There shouldn't be any issues. Of course, there are issues. You perform the check on wallet, you are supposed to deposit only from that wallet. But the investors sometimes, they say, yeah, okay, let's just use a different one. Then you might decide or sign for a subscription form, an agreement with the investment fund for a certain amount. You say, well, I'm going to send $1 million. And then, well, you realize that in order to send a transaction, you're going to have to spend some transaction fees or some withdrawal fees from your exchange. Instead of sending 1 million, then you're going to send 999,000 and so on. So it's a different amount. And this amount, well, it needs to be reflected and adapted into the subscription note in order to issue the correct amount of fund units to this investor. And finally is the copy-paste address issue. So when you need to send a simple transaction of $10, well, you can just copy-paste an address and send it. It's fine. If it's a matter of subscribing million into an investment fund, well, this kind of make the investor a bit nervous to just take an address, make sure that you copy-paste. There is no bank you can call and make sure that they can revert the transaction. So you want to make sure that there are also no phishing attempts. It could be the right address and so on, but you could also have a case where there is social engineering, someone reaching out to the investors, intercepting the communication and say, yeah, we whitelisted your address, please send the money here, and it's fine, and it's actually a hacker that could steal the money from the investors. So all those issues here. And we believe there is a much better way to do that. And this is where we come in with Fume. With Fume, the whole idea is using the smart contract, the whole protocol, to automate the whole deposit experience for the investor. So once we whitelisted an investor, we perform the KYC check, green light. The only thing that we need to do is sending an email invitation to the investor. The investor arrives to the platform, simply connects the wallet that has been KYC'd, cannot connect any other wallet other than this one. The investor doesn't have the option to select a different amount, a different currency, a different network, none of that. He can only connect the wallets and simply one click, yes, I agree, I sign with my wallet that I want to deposit. After this happens, the smart contract is going to take the liquidity from the investor wallet and send it to the custody solution of the fund. There is no copy-pasting needed and no manual action other than, yes, I accept the fund term and I want to deposit. Now I want to show you in practice how this works. As an investor, I arrive to the platform. I can connect my wallet. In this case, I might have a MetaMask as an LP of the fund. I select it. Once here, I might have two options, either subscribing via another custom deposit, via fiat and so on. But if I want to use my wallet, I'm going to simply accept the term. And the only thing is clicking deposit. And the correct amount is taken out of the wallet and sent to the right custody solution. As simple as that. So yeah.
Indeed, it cannot be much simpler than that. Okay, so you find a way to prevent some of the phishing attacks, potential issues with sending the money to the fund. So phishing attacks, that's a very big concern in today's day, and everybody's talking about the phishing attacks, especially when it comes to crypto. And I think that's Leo's specialty. So Leo, can you tell us a bit more about what you see?
Absolutely. And I think, Rick, this is where Fume plays such a significant part within the crypto industry, and also making this so much easier, quicker, and so much more reliable for the industry out there as well. Because at the end of the day, we know the Bybit hack happened because of most likely or the same instance like this, where some of the wallet addresses were interacted with, and then those addresses were being brought into the ecosystem and wrongfully sent out there as well. So within this space, we have seen a lot with our investors doing the source of funds tracing. Once they have been part of a fund and have sent, let's say, the 10 USDC microtransaction, you will actually see a lot of similar wallet addresses trying to address poison and sending those phishing attacks, so that, and how this works then, and Rick, this is where you guys are so smart, is once I go onto my my MetaMask wallet or my exchange wallet, I will see the first couple of digits, the last couple of digits, and I would say, listen, this is easy. I'm just going to click and send my 199,990 USDC to the wallet. And that's actually not the same wallet, because the middle digits are different. And that's where all of the hackers and all of these, I want to say, smart, bad actors came into play and utilized these systems. And Rick, you guys just eliminate all of that immediately. So really, I think it's where it will help a lot of the bad acting, putting that out there, and also reducing the bad stigma that there is regarding crypto, and crypto is bad, and there's a lot of attacks and phishing and fraud, etc. Where you guys come in, it actually eliminates a lot of that and provides a better reputation to the system as well.
As the hackers system evolve, we also need to make our own system, our own prevention system evolve as well.
And then adapt with it. We all need to adapt with the industry, with the systems, etc.
Alrighty, so Leo, after the subscription occurred, how can we make sure the investor doesn't trigger any AML concerns with his wallet afterwards, after what we've just seen Fume does?
That's a good question, Kamil. And what we've seen in the industry, it's great to screen the wallet, go through your AML practices prior to subscriptions, then make sure, like Rick said, the only way the funds can come is via Fume from their system or their smart contract, the right address, right amount into the right fund as well. But whenever further subscriptions are made, a quick redo of that wallet would need to occur, because I can subscribe $1 million USDC today, and then tomorrow I get 2 million USDC from a sanctioned wallet. So whenever a further subscriptions are made, or before any further redemptions or distributions are made into the same wallet, it's paramount that that wallet is quickly rescreened to make sure that no bad acting has taken place in the interim. And by way of this, I would like to make it a bit more practical and share a real life scenario of a scenario that we have went through. On here, we are using Chainalysis, and over here you can see this is the investor's wallet and this is the fund's wallet in the end. So during this practical example, the investor wallet received a lot of the funds, or $30,000 from this wallet, who received $10,000 from this counterparty, who actually received directly from a sanctioned wallet. So in essence, this is a direct path of funds flowing into the fund. What was interesting about this case is the timing of events. So the timing of the event from the investor to, or from the investor's counterparty to the investor, happened on the 24th of October. But the interaction between the wallet that had interactions with the sanctioned wallet actually only occurred on the 26th. So that's 2 days after. So that is why it's so important, whenever the investor in this case resubscribes or resends any further contributions, it's paramount that they do not interact with this counterparty again, because those funds will be tainted. So that's why it's also important to rescreen the wallet prior to any further contributions, to make sure that you have continuous best practice and continuous AML best practices in play as well. So Camila, I hope that answers your question. Before any further contributions, redemptions are made, this is really a crucial part of the system as well.
And if I may add on point here, Leo, it's, as you mentioned, it's not only on the way in that you need to perform the compliance check, but it's also on the way out, because you have to continue monitoring the wallet. You might have, I don't know, once a month, once a quarter distribution paid out to your investors. Well, if you have to interact with 100 wallets, well, if one of those wallets is tainted, then it could cause issues to also all the other investors and to the fund itself. So you can automate this part with the smart contract as well. You can just use an on-chain automated paying agent. But then same thing, you want to make sure that as soon as one of those address is flagged, we need to stop the operation in there and make sure not to send out or de-whitelist and remove this address, for example.
That is so important, Rick. And that's also something that we have seen with a lot of our funds, especially that, because once your fund and all of those funds within that wallet has been tainted, you sit with a massive headache. You need to freeze, you need to report, and that is also then on the reputation. So very important note.
And it's in fact very similar to the traditional fund, right? Typically a transaction at the end, which is the redemption or a distribution or liquidation, is treated as a trigger event, which means re-KYCing the client investor, rescreening the investor for PEPs and sanctions and other issues. All right, I think that was all the questions I've had for you, and I think we went through all the things we wanted to get through today. So thank you so much for watching us. It was an absolute pleasure to host this webinar with Fume Finance and Riccardo. So please visit our websites at provenancecompliance.com and fume.finance for more details about how can we help you in your journey. Feel free to reach out to Riccardo, Leo, or myself. You can see our emails on the screen now.
So, Riccardo, Leo, thank you so much for coming here today. It was an absolute pleasure. And for the viewers, warm regards from the Cayman Islands. See you next time. Thank you.